Hey guys, Happy New Year, welcome back to the channel. In this video I'll be demoing 6 airshow maneuvers, including 3 different types of loop, using 6 important parameters that real pilots must master to get consistent aerobatics. There you go, in a nutshell. Chapters down below if you want to skip ahead. If you're new to the channel, my name is Chris. I'm a former fast jet flying instructor with almost 2,500 real-world flying hours, and I hope to bring a little more realism to the fast jet flight sim. So what are the 6 important parameters? Well, they are attitude, power, speed, G, alpha, and altitude. In this head-up display you can see the attitude is indicated by the bore sight cross here, that is where the nose of the aircraft is pointing, and the velocity vector is the circle with the wings either side, that is where the aircraft is actually travelling. So those will be different depending on what speed you're flying. The slower you are, the more different these two might be. You've also got the power, which is down to the lower right, which I'll demonstrate in a minute. The speed is on the left, currently showing 362. On the right is the altitude, that's 1,780-ish. Lower left, we've got the alpha or AOA, and beneath that, we've got the G. I mentioned the power, clearly you've got your RPM set here, but more importantly, to check that your afterburner is working, when you put it in, you can see AB in red. Go, ready for takeoff on runway 23. Afterburner's lit, speed is reading, looking for 125 knots, rotate for 7.5 degrees nose up, and we'll get airborne about 145, 150 knots. So here we go, gently on the back stick, gear up, push forwards to get the velocity vector back on the horizon, gear is up, lights out, looking for 250 knots, pulling that bore sight cross all the way up to 60 degrees nose up, looking back, shooting for the moon. A little bit of airshow panache with the roll. Yes, nice. Looking for 3,000 feet. There we go. Over the top, and we're going to pull it back around for the inverted pass. Pull the power out of afterburner. Playing the altitude and the airspeed, so I get about 300, 350 knots for the inverted flight. Alright, that'll do, 300 knots. So I'd always go for a couple of degrees nose up, roll wings upside down, and put the velocity vector back on the horizon line. That's it, the auto trim takes care of the rest. Simples. Switch the nose, degree nose up, roll inverted, or roll the right way up should I say, and we're back. If you want to do a full aileron roll, I'd still go for a couple of degrees nose up, roll it, nice consistent roll rate, and pull the nose back to the horizon. So the next manoeuvre is going to be the normal loop. We're going to go from 200 feet, 350 knots. We'll use 4.5 G pull to start with. As the speed reduces, we'll capture 11 to 13 alpha over the top. Upside down, we'll cancel the afterburner. And then as we accelerate down the back side of the loop, we'll capture 4.5 G and hopefully 200 feet and 350 knots-ish. Let's see how this works out for us. Alright, a bit slow, but we can capture that with afterburner. Afterburner's lit, 350 knots we've got. Looking at the G meter, pulling up. 4.5 G, hold 4.5 G, on the way up, here we go. Alpha's catching up with us, there's the alpha, holding the alpha between 11 and 13. Over the top, we're looking at 4.2 thousand feet. Keep that alpha, cancel the afterburner. Holding the alpha, now holding the G. Speed's coming in, altitude's coming in. We are 200 feet, 350 knots. That will do. Thank you very much. Okay, the next loop is going to be the power loop. This is going to be the same as a normal loop, so same parameters to start with, but once we get into the vertical, I'm going to go full back stick, and we've got G limiting and alpha limiting, and it'll just essentially turn about a much smaller radius and end up with about 1,000, maybe 1,200 foot higher than what we went in at. So we're currently around about 200 feet, 350 knots. So here we go, afterburner is in, 4.5 G on the way up, looking for the vertical. There's the vertical, all the way back on the back stick. Watch for that line feature because it does rock and roll a bit, the wings will want to rock. The alpha's limited to 29.2 there, we're over the top at 3.7 on the altitude. Watch for that bore sight cross going back to the horizon line. Hold it there. And then that velocity vector comes back to meet us. And what you can see is we're now at 1,400 feet, so gain 1,200 feet. And from here you can position yourself for your next manoeuvre. So for the slow loop, we're going to start at 200 knots and 200 feet. We're not going to use the G, we're just going to use the alpha. We're going to hold at least 15, but no more than 20. If you hold more than 20, you'll lose a lot of speed. We'll use afterburner throughout the manoeuvre, And on the way up, it's easy to over alpha, over the top it's easy to under alpha, but really important to keep the alpha consistent if you want to make this work. Towards the end of the loop, I'll pull the power when I see about 200 knots, and hopefully we'll end up about 200 knots when we exit. So here we go. Afterburners in, looking at the alpha gauge, nice and gentle. There we go, 16, 17, 18, straight above 20, look. Easing off the alpha. Come on. Line feature's good. Right, over the top, easy to under alpha it here, but this is where we really need to turn the aircraft. Over the top at 2,500 feet, keeping that afterburner in, keeping that alpha high, 20 alpha, that's good. Speed is now 200 knots, exiting afterburner, keeping the pull, watching for that 200 feet, and I exited 40 feet low. Not too bad, and the speed is about 6 knots slow. Okay, next is going to be the barrel roll, so I use the loop parameters, 350 knots, 200 feet. You'll notice I'm coming in slightly high, so if I had spectators, they can see me coming. We'll keep that 4.5G over the top with afterburner for the most part. We'll be wings level inverted as we pull back down through the horizon. And we'll see how they go. We'll pull the power out of AB as I need to capture 350 knots on the backside of the manoeuvre. Alright, here we go. Afterburner is lit, 4.5G, looking for my virtual feet on the horizon. That's when I'll start rolling. I'll keep my eye on the G. G looking pretty good. Over the top, wings level, upside down. Yes, not too bad. Looking for my line feature. Yes, got that. Keeping the pull. Following the power. And then from here, 200 feet, I can then go around the corner, back onto the runway. Oh, I lost some speed in that turn, but I did end with 350 knots. The turn wiped me down to 300 knots. That is a quick and dirty barrel roll. So here we are for the high alpha pass. I've added a formation mate in just for some interest. And the easiest way to do the high alpha is to go for about 110 to 115 knots and use the velocity vector on the horizon. You can just about see it at the bottom of the HUD. If you go too slow, it'll disappear. And this is by far the most consistent way of doing it, and you get to see over the nose which way you're going. Now there is a more extreme version. If I pop the speed brake out a little bit, we'll go below 100 knots. As soon as you go below 100 knots, pull the nose up to 26 degrees nose up. That drag will take a lot of your speed off, and now I'm sat here using the bore sight cross on about 26 degrees nose up. I want to be about 80 knots, and I'm just looking at the VV and the HUD to kind of gauge whether I'm descending or not. And if you go below 70 knots, you can see your rate of descent will dramatically increase. But here we go. Let's have a quick look from the outside, because that looks pretty cool. That is so cool. And then from here, if you want to power out, just put the burner in, put the speed brake in, and then hopefully my wingman will come with me, and we put the nose to about 50 degrees nose up, maybe 60, depending on how brave you're feeling. And you can get ready for the next manoeuvre. That's cool. Like it. Okay, that just leaves the running and brakes. We're going to go for about 400, 450 knots, 200 feet fly through. You can either use the air brake, but you'll need to pop it in sooner rather than later, or just pull really hard in the brake to slow down, but this thing slows down pretty quick. But I'll talk you through it. Where are we at? 150 feet-ish for the fly-through. There we go, 440 knots. Yes, that'll do. Clear downwind. Here we go, roll, pull, idle, air brake. Bit of air brake. Nice pull round. Through 300 knots, we're going to slow down. Climbing to 1,000 feet. That's through 300 knots, easing off the back pressure. Want less than 260 for the gear speed. Downwind heading looks good. Oh, about 100 feet high, that'll do. Speed's good, gear travels. Want 180 knots for the final turn, because this thing bleeds speed in the final turn quite a lot. 3 greens we have. Power for speed. And I'm 100 feet high. That'll do me. Wings are overlapping the runway a bit too much, so I'm just easing out to the left a little bit. See how that works out. 235 downwind heading. That light brown field corner off will do for the turn. Keeping the power applied. 5 degrees nose down on the velocity vector. See that speed wash off very quickly. Maybe I'm pulling the stick too much. Bad habits. Bingo! Roger. Keep it coming down. Keep it coming down. Okay. Turn is about made. Pulling the power for about 140 knots, 135 perhaps. Velocity vector on the runway, 3-degree glide path will do me. Speed's coming down. A bit fast, but stabilised. Raise the nose slightly, pull the power to idle, and not much flare required in a T7, same as a T-38, you don't really flare it, you more check it. Aero brake, now through 100 knots it does drop the nose, I think that's a coding thing. So we'll just keep it up at 11 degrees, the aero brake. And we have made it back on bingo fuel, love it.